got to say that I had geared up and mentally prepared for Arsenal actually winning that. I did fancy them going into the night, and when they scored after 5 minutes or so, Kai Havertz scoring again in a Champions League final twice over the course of his career for a guy that's been widely mocked over the course of his career since he's been in the Premier League. Pretty impressive. A good finish from him. Arsenal, the goal came about quite luckily, but if you're Arsenal in that situation, you take the lead that early on. I thought they played really well in the first half. Then that's just the job that you've got to do. I think Arteta and the Arsenal coaches went into the game with a plan. And I think when you get an early goal like that, the plan will be to just sit in and try and defend. You can commend it in a sense. And look, I'll say this, right? Winning is the most important thing. And I think if United went into a game like that and they had an early lead like that and they were playing against PSG and they defended like that pretty resolutely for the duration of the game, they gave away a penalty, obviously, in the second half, but they pretty much limited PSG to pot shots from long range. They didn't have loads of chances to go and win it, clear-cut ones anyway. I think Arsenal defended quite well. And throughout the night, I really felt as though, especially when it came to like the end of extra time when they were going into penalties, I just had a feeling throughout the night that Arsenal would be actually lifting the trophy for the first time in their history. But hey, maybe that's just some kind of coping mechanism that I've developed over the course of the last few years, because we've watched United be so useless for so long, and we've seen all of United's like direct rivals essentially overtake them at some points and win all of the big trophies. So maybe it's just a protection mechanism that I have. But I have to point this out. Now, I've already said a few times that I put that defense mechanism in place, that I was resigned to Arsenal winning it. I kind of expected them to win it, and I've given them credit by saying, well done on winning the Premier League. Win it whichever way you can. But my God, over the course of the night, when Arsenal got ahead and they defended really well throughout that first half, fair play to them. But the longer the game went on, the more bored I got. And I understand if you're a supporter of that team, you're very invested in the way that your team is playing. But what we got on the night was just a reminder for me of everything that is wrong with modern football in the sense of the way that it's played. I'm not saying this out of jealousy or spite or whatever. Look, if United were doing it, then I'm sure I would be defending it. But isn't the enjoyment being sucked out of football? And maybe that is why people are going into all of these games and are so vehemently against the likes of Arsenal going and winning, because of the manner that they do it in. Isn't that just so depressing to see the way that they've gone about things? How the game panned out over the course of the night. PSG had, 75% possession over the course of the night. Arsenal barely stringing a few passes together. I saw Adam Joseph, who's a regular on the podcast, pointed out that Bukayo Saka completed 4 passes in 85 minutes. While I'm an advocate of doing whatever it takes to win, and I don't even mind if you bend the rules and win, as long as you win. And that's something that hopefully I can look at Manchester United for over the next few years, being a little bit savvy and being a little bit like annoying. I would like that to come back in Manchester United's game. You don't always have to do it the right way. But my God, you just can't get behind the football that they've been playing all season. And what we saw on that night, I think the first time I really properly thought, God, man, something needs to happen here, was when halftime was coming up. They had a throw-in around PSG's box. I think Declan Rice went over to take it. And then the ball was headed out by a PSG player for a corner. We were over the allotted amount of added time. I think there were 6 minutes added in the first half, around that. And Bukayo Saka strolls over to the corner. The referee says, yes, we'll let you take the corner. There is still time. Strolls on over, takes 40-odd seconds, and then the referee blows the whistle before he can take the corner and gives halftime. Now, I thought that was quite funny at the time. You can see why Arsenal would have been ticked off. If you're going to say that, the corner is going to have time to be played, then let us play it. But what Arsenal have been doing, and a key part of their game over the last season or so, and maybe the seasons before that, but specifically this year, has been dragging out every set piece. It took 30 seconds to take a throw in, a minute at times to take corners. And the Premier League have let them get away with it. They've let them wrestle in the box. I've seen a report this morning saying that FIFA are not going to allow that wrestling in the box to take place from corners because they've seen what's happened in the Premier League over the course of the season, and it's put in a stain on the game. And Arsenal, for me, have brought that into the game as well. A lot of teams have copied it, but they were the instigators of it initially. They set the trend, and a lot of people have copied it. A lot of teams have copied it because that's just what happens. If you see something that is being successful and is not being refereed in the right way, then you are going to take that advantage yourself. Arsenal get that corner, the referee blows the whistle, and I see head loss from pretty much everywhere. Why didn't you let us take the corner? Well, don't take the mick every single time by stretching the clock and getting your set pieces absolutely perfect. Oh, which move is it? Let's call this one. Oh, let's just make sure the message gets around. Let's make sure we stand in the exact right place, all at the back post, and we make this run and we make this run, and everybody knows exactly what they're doing. That's not football, man. Like, that is taking it to the extremes. I think gaining an advantage in any way possible. Advocate of that, like I say, but it doesn't mean I have to like it. And I think over the course of the night, the way things kept going, the more I got kind of angry at what I was watching and bored at what I was watching and frustrated that I was bored. Finals are never the best matches to ever watch, but this one was just a pattern of what football has become. And isn't that really depressing? It didn't really look like PSG were going to find a way through up until they won the penalty, which was a clear penalty, by the way. I know I was losing my mind at the point that was given, that the referee hadn't given a second booking to Christian Mosquera, who'd already been booked. And if that foul is anywhere else on the pitch, how it happened for a PSG player later on in the match in the middle of the pitch because he stopped a counter-attack. It was the same basic obstruction, same tackle to stop a counter-attack. He got a booking for it. And I'm getting quite frustrated at the moment with the way that refereeing is going and how things are refereed differently in different parts of the pitch. It's the same thing. You're given a foul in both areas of the pitch, but the severity of that foul is deemed worse if it's in the middle of the pitch than if it's in the penalty area when you're actually stopping a shot being taken or a goal being scored. I know people will point to the fact that you get like a penalty off the back of it, like a direct shot at goal. But to me, I think that rule really is starting to frustrate me because a lot of teams are actually taking advantage of that. And for me, I just look at it as the same offense. You get yellow cards for absolutely nothing nowadays. You can make a tackle in the box like that, completely mistimed. Yeah, I think he was going for the ball, but it was mistimed. It's still a booking. It's still a booking. Just drives me mad. All this officiating and all of the different rules for different situations, handball and time wasting and all of this, it just frustrates the life out of me. And by the time PSG had that penalty, I was thinking, yeah, I actually really want PSG to win this now because they weren't great on the night themselves, but I think that was in large part to the way that Arsenal defended and just chucked two banks of four like on the edge of their penalty area for what seemed like an eternity, the duration of the game, and they would only attack in very, very small pockets and in very, very small moments up until maybe the end of extra time or the last 5 minutes of normal time as well, where things opened up a little bit. But it got me thinking, like, Arsenal's football is that bad to watch and has been that bad to watch over the course of the season. I don't even really give a damn about Arsenal. I really don't. But I do give a damn about my enjoyment of football and what football should be. And it got to the point towards the end, and I joked about this on social media afterwards. I'm literally cheering on a sports washing project to win this over a team that is playing football that I don't like. That's how ridiculous things have got. I joked, I have been sports washed. That is what sports washing is. PSG have had state funding for 15 years or however long it's been now, and do pride themselves on playing football in the right way. And they do play, like, some of the football that they've played over the course of the last few years has been absolutely sensational to watch. But you know where the money comes from. And I was actively cheering that on and very self-aware that I was cheering that on in the end. What a sad state of affairs that we've come to. But look, if you're Arsenal in that situation, I know what I've just said there. I commend them for winning the league. If you get the job done, fair play. The trophy is all that matters. That is the most important thing. Nobody can say anything about it, I don't think. But it doesn't mean that people have to like it. And I think what we see, that all the shortcuts that Arsenal have taken over the course of the season, all the little tricks that they've introduced into their game, all the little like stupid celebrations of Gabriel putting something in his pocket after Arsenal have got a big win. They give it out, but they don't like it when it comes back at them. They even had a late shout for a penalty when Noni Madueke beat Nuno Mendes down the right side. And I thought in the moment that he might well give that. But my first reaction to that was, no, that's not a penalty. You get replay after replay after replay after replay. And tribalism is so strong in football nowadays that Arsenal fans will absolutely insist that that's a penalty. For the situation that I thought, the referee actually managed the situation incredibly, incredibly well, because Madueke gets by him, and credit to him for doing that. But his first thought, instead of actually going for goal and trying to score, his first thought is, I'm going to grab Nuno Mendes' arm and bring it close to me so it looks like he's obstructing me so I can artificially go and win a penalty. And that is where we are with football nowadays. Any small little advantage that you can get is the way to win. And I know that there's tons of money on the line and it is super important, and like that ultimately dictates how successful you're going to be down the line. But it doesn't mean that the game isn't being taken away from us really slowly. Hell, not even slowly. It's just so obvious at this point. And we get to penalties by the end, and Eze steps up and misses the penalty after a bit of a shimmy. David Raya makes a save, and then Gabriel steps up. It had to be Gabriel at the end, doesn't it? And absolutely pelts it over the bar, which brings about some of the biggest celebrations that I've seen for a team not winning a game. Got to say myself, I did let out a bit of a fist bump. I watched it at home when that happened. But that was mainly because, like, I'm happy to give credit where it's due, right? And to say, like, if Arsenal won that trophy, I'd say, congratulations, you got the job done. I didn't like the way that you did it, but you got the job done. And ultimately, that's all that people will really remember. But it was a victory for the way that football is played, wrapped up in a present of this has all been bought by state money. And what a weird situation we're in at this moment in time. It's odd. It really is. I have a few friends who are Arsenal fans and PSG. I know a few PSG fans as well. I was really happy for them. And look, I think what we all want is for our own team, and we need these big moments for United back. We really do. But the way that United go about getting there, I think is really important. They need to stick to the traditions that they have played with down the years. They need to do things the right way. Look, if you can turn things up and win it a little bit crooked just to wind other people up, then you do want a bit of that as well. But you do want your team to be remembered for being a really good football team. And Arsenal are a really good football team, but in the sense of doing the things that they do really, really well and finding an advantage out of it. I don't think they attack with the same kind of verve that United teams of the past have attacked with, and that Liverpool and Manchester City have attacked with in the past. But even City have never really done it the right way for me because of all the state money that's involved in that too, and the charges that have come off the back of it. It just makes you think that there is a right way to go about it. And I'm sure that Michael Carrick will be very open-minded to how to take advantages and that kind of thing. But he will always know that there's a specific way that Manchester United should go about winning things. And I'm sure that he will have that in mind as United go and try and win those trophies that they should be in the conversations for, that they've not been in the conversations for a long time. But let me know your thoughts on that Champions League final. But just to summarize it, if Arsenal had have won it, I'd have said, like, held my hands up and said, absolutely fair play to you. But the way that the game panned out over the course of the night, even though I wasn't absolutely vehemently against Arsenal winning that game from the very, very beginning, the way that the game panned out, and the lack of intent, I guess, that Arsenal actually showed to go and win it just made me look at the football that PSG have played and can play and just will that to win. And I guess that is me getting sports washed. And a lot of people getting sports washed. Do you want to go with a sports washing project, or do you want to go with a team that doesn't play football in the way that you want them to play? What an absolute prospect that is. Anyway, let's switch gears to something that happened before the Champions League final. It's been about 48 hours or so now as I record this since Liverpool made the announcements around midday on Saturday that it came out. But Arne Slot's been sacked, and he's done his own statement to Liverpool fans, which has come out on Monday morning, talking about a number of things. But I think where we had got to was a point of hope from a Manchester United perspective, knowing what we've seen out of Liverpool over the course of the season under Arne Slot. We got to a point of hope that with all the reports that were coming out saying that there would be an end of season review, but it looks unlikely that Liverpool and Arne Slot will part ways. I think we were all just clinging on to a little bit of hope that they would actually stick with that, because from the outside, you could see that that wasn't really working. Some of the stuff he was saying, I said this on the podcast, I think a week or so ago, that what he pointed to as the word to sum up his season and Liverpool's season was injury. Excuses were just coming out of his ears. And Liverpool, the way that they spent money last year and the way that they had absolutely failed to integrate those players properly, it looks like Liverpool are Manchester United under Ed Woodward 10 years later or 8 years later or whatever. That's the vibes that I've been getting out of them over the course of the last 12 months or so. But it did seem in the end that it was too good to be true. And they've made this decision now after, like, I think a week of the season finishing. They took their time to actually deliberate on what the right decision was for them. And they've come to the conclusion that Arne Slot being out is probably the best thing for that football club. And look, it's sad. It is sad, isn't it? Because I had just been starting to write off Liverpool as a tangible, like, proper contender. But they've made that change now. I'm sure they'll go into the summer and make the right additions that they need to make. I think Ibrahima Konate is walking away on a free, and whatever you think of him, I don't particularly rate him super highly, but if you're 27 years old and that's another senior player in the first team that you can't tie down to a new contract or sell for actual money, it doesn't really indicate that that is a football club that is running in the right way and running how they were previously. So maybe there's still some hope left yet that Liverpool can't really hit the heights that they previously hit. But it looks now that they're going to be moving to Andoni Iraola, who was on the list for Manchester United. I think they checked him out before making the decision to go and hire Michael Carrick. And the way that he's played football with Bournemouth over the last few years, it has seemed as though he's been in line for a big job. It's just a question of which one it was, whether it was United, whether it was Chelsea, whether it was Athletic Bilbao or another club. I think AC Milan and Bayer Leverkusen have been linked with him as well, but Liverpool might have been the one that he's been waiting for all along. It's really important to point this out, that you might think that, oh, United have missed the boat here, but Richard Hughes used to be sporting director at Bournemouth. He moved to Liverpool, I think, a year or so ago, maybe a little bit longer ago than that, but they already have that relationship in there of Richard Hughes and Andoni Iraola working at Bournemouth and working really well together. Now, Richard Hughes has gone into Liverpool. The thing with Slot hasn't ever really looked like it was going to work out over the course of the last 12 months or so, even though he won the league last year. I think they're trending downwards. You probably would think that if your sporting director at Liverpool is the former sporting director of Bournemouth and the Bournemouth manager is coming up with no contract, it makes logical sense for them to actually go for him because he fits into the model of what the sporting director had previously done. It's a little bit odd that we have seen Xabi Alonso and just letting willingly Xabi Alonso to just walk into the Chelsea job because they hadn't made a decision on Arne Slot yet. But as has been pointed out to me on social over the course of the last few days, is there any proof that Liverpool actually wanted him? You know, he has played a back three in the past. Maybe that's the case. Maybe that is true. Maybe they didn't actually want him and they were willing to let him just walk on to Chelsea because Iraola was the guy that they wanted all along. But it did just seem like a match made perfectly for what Alonso did for Liverpool to what he did at Bayer Leverkusen as a coach. He was free. He was a free agent now. Liverpool wanted him 2 years ago. They didn't actually get him. They wanted him last year. He went to Real Madrid. And now he's rocked up at Chelsea, and Liverpool have just got the timing off by about a week. But maybe it is the case that Liverpool never wanted him in the first place. Still doesn't mean it's not odd to think that that would have made logical sense given the history that they have together. But I did want to make a point on Iraola because I know now that all that campaigning, I guess, for Iraola to be United's next head coach is going to be put to the test, and people will have a metric to measure Iraola against because he's now at a big club just a few miles away from United, a direct rival. He is going into there, and Manchester United have decided to go with the untried, untested Michael Carrick, who's only managed Middlesbrough previously, whereas Iraola's only really managed Bournemouth. But he's done a really good job. And I think he's a very, very good coach. I think if he goes there to Liverpool, I am a lot more worried about Liverpool next season from a perspective of what they can do in the Premier League and in the Champions League, because they've got a really young, exciting coach going in there that people, look, if he does well at Liverpool and United don't do well next season, people will inevitably point to, why didn't United do that? They have made the same mistake over and over again. They made the appointment of Ollie Mark II, and they've just ignored a high-quality coach who plays football the right way and let him walk to their rivals. I will say this now. United and Liverpool are two completely different projects. United and Liverpool are two teams at different stages. They have different characteristics about their squad. I think Liverpool have, while they're not playing that exact way over the last few years, and Mo Salah himself on his way out has called for a return to the heavy metal football that was made famous by Jurgen Klopp. They've not been playing like that under Slot. Liverpool's recent history and the way that they've played football, I think, aligns a lot more with the football that Iraola has played at Bournemouth, and aligns with the football that Iraola might want to play at Liverpool as well. I think the playing staff and the personnel, I think there's some different characteristics in there, which may mean that the Liverpool team is a little bit more adept at actually getting to grips with that football straight away. I just look at this United team at the moment. I think that with the speed that they have at centre-back, this is an important one. They don't really have it. If Harry Maguire is going to play in the team, I don't think you can really play a high line. I don't think you can find the right midfield mix that is going to be able to cover all that ground. If you do have a high line and play up the pitch, I don't think that United are going to be able to do that. A lot of investment is required in that core area. We know the midfield is a big thing that needs focus, and I think it will get focus over the course of this summer. But central defense is a really important area of the pitch as well, which may not come properly until next year, if at all. I will just look at this now, and I know that there will be point scoring if this happens and Liverpool have a better season than United next year. That will absolutely happen. And I'll perhaps have to hold my hands up down the line and say that United have got this wrong. But the way that I'm looking at the situations of both the football clubs and the situations that they have with managers at the moment in time, I still think that United made the right decision for them in going with Michael Carrick at this moment in time, because Michael Carrick is what this club has needed at this point in the building process that they're in. I don't think they could really afford, with the way that Carrick had picked things up since January, to drop him and let him go somewhere else. Whether he would have gone somewhere else, I'm not entirely sure, but just let him go, let him leave the football club because of the good feeling in the football club at the moment. Liverpool were in very much a different position where they have needed their manager to go, and they have needed something which is more akin to what they're used to in the last few years. It does make sense for them to go with Iraola, personally. I think that that's the case. Whether he gets appointed and how quickly that happens remains to be seen, but I would expect that to be done pretty quickly. And what we will have next season is Iraola versus Carrick in Manchester United-Liverpool games. Carrick has a job to do and certainly has the past experience of knowing how to deal with the expectations of Manchester United. I think that will be the case at Liverpool as well, but they've had a structure in place for a long, long time. United needs stability at this moment in time. I think maybe if Carrick does well but doesn't quite get the job done over the next 2 years or so, maybe United can go on and get into hiring the next super coach like down the line, or maybe they can wait for Luis Enrique's contract to finish at PSG, or whenever he's ready to finish. He will sign a new deal with PSG by the looks of it. But I just think that just because Liverpool are moving now for a manager that a lot of people wanted at Manchester United doesn't necessarily mean that United have made the wrong decision in going with Michael Carrick at this point. It's just a case of now both those theories are going to be tested against each other, because Liverpool have made the move for Iraola and could potentially kick on from the difficult place that they've been in over the course of the season. Liverpool are at a low ebb. United are not at a low ebb at the moment. It's really difficult to take that job off of Carrick at the moment in time. So that's kind of where I stand on it. I know that there will be people out there that will use every single opportunity to go and say that United got this decision wrong. The moment United lose a game and Liverpool win a game on a certain weekend, you know that what's coming on social media is some long-ass threads about, well, this is why Manchester United made the wrong decision about hiring Michael Carrick and should have gone with Iraola instead. There's even no guarantee that Iraola would have taken the job. Perhaps he knew all along that this Liverpool job was coming up because he had that relationship with Richard Hughes. Maybe he wanted that job all along. We'll never really know unless he gets presented and say that Liverpool was the club that I wanted all along, which maybe actually might happen, but we'll see how it goes. But let me know your thoughts, guys, on the Liverpool decision. If United are still making the right decision with Carrick, if it's the right moment for them in time, let me know your thoughts on the Champions League final as well. And get your comments in for anything else with a comment show that I'm going to do coming up over the course of the next week or so. I'm doing a bunch of other stuff too. Probably the keep sell list that United need to do over the course of the summer. Maybe the ideal transfer window that United need to do over the course of the summer will come up as well. Any transfer news that pops up, I'll be certain to jump on the pod, especially this week up until actually the first half of this week. I'll be able to like jump on things properly. After that, I'm not entirely sure of my regularity and my schedule. So there may be some slight changes to the regularity and the amount of uploads that I do on the podcast, but stick with me as I'll be out at the World Cup. But yeah, subscribe to the podcast if you've not done so already. All the links are in the description, Apple, Spotify, and on YouTube as well. Follow me on social at @_Scott Saunders on Instagram and TikTok too. And I'll see you soon, everyone, for another episode of TPL. Until next time.